2.
Good evening, everyone. This is High Point Mayor Pro Tem Michael Holmes calling to order our May 20th meeting of the High Point City Council. In chambers with me are all members of council minus our mayor, Mayor Jefferson, and Councilwoman Vicky McKeever. So that does constitute a quorum. At this time, I would ask that we all rise for a moment of silence, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. First item on our agenda is the adoption of our agenda. At this time, I will ask any members of council if they wish to remove an item for discussion. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Moore, second by Councilman Andrew. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. At this time, we have several recognitions and presentations to present. We have proclamation for Public Works Week, proclamation for Stand for Our Children, proclamation for National Travel and Tourism Week, and branding award recognition of the City of High Point. And so I'm going to come down. And we're going to begin with proclamation for Public Services Week. And we'll ask that Robbie Stone, Public Services Director, come forward. And the proclamation reads, whereas public works, infrastructure, facilities, and services are critical importance to the health, safety, economy, and overall well-being of our community, and whereas such facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, engineers, and administrators representing all levels of government who are responsible for and must plan, design, construct, inspect, operate, and maintain the public works facilities essential to our citizens. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works functions is materially influenced by the people's attitudes and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. And whereas it is in the public interest for our citizens, civic leaders, and children to learn and understand the importance of vital public works programs such as drinking water, sanitary and storm sewers, streets and highways, public buildings and grounds, public fleets, and solid waste collections and disposal. And whereas the theme for this year's celebration is Connecting the World Through Public Works, and 2024 marks the 64th Annual National Public Works Week sponsored by American Public Works Association. Now, on behalf of our Mayor Cyril Jefferson, Mayor of City High Point, I hereby proclaim the week of May 19th through 25th, 2024 as the Public Works Week. And we want to thank you all for the whole rate to you. All right. Next up, we have Stand for Our Children. And if we could have those who are here in attendance come down. Yes, come forward, please. Not to go all Whitney Houston on you, but the children are our future, so we should all stand up, right? The proclamation reads, whereas the children of High Point are our most precious resource in the future of our community, deserving of love, protection, and support. And whereas every child has the right to grow up in a safe, nurturing environment, free from violence, neglect, and abuse. And whereas it is our collective responsibility as individuals, family, organizations, and communities to ensure the well-being and safety of all children. And whereas on this day, we reaffirm our commitment to standing up for the rights and welfare of children, advocating for policies and practices that promote their physical, emotional, and mental health. And whereas by raising awareness and taking action, we can create a culture of care and support for our children, empowering them to thrive and reach their full potential. Therefore, now be it resolved that on behalf of Mayor Jefferson, Mayor of the City of High Point, North Carolina, we do declare June 1st, 2024 as Stand for Our Children's Day and urge all residents to join together in solidarity to protect, nurture, and support the children of High Point. Thank you. Guys, come on, get in place. Yeah. You want to move over this side? Tony, you want to stand on this? Yeah. Yep. All right. Next up, we have National Travel and Tourism Week. So if I could get Melody Burnett and Nancy Bowman and Dana East to all come down. Folks, anytime, one of the first experience that people have when they come to our city is they're interacting with our travel and tourism. It's a huge part of what we do. We've got all these great things going on all over the city, especially downtown. Great events that are coming to the city here in the next few weeks and months. And this Rockstar team that you see right here in front of you is the tip of the spear on making sure that High Point, that everyone knows that what we do in High Point changes the world. And so just want to recognize these folks with this proclamation. Whereas the travel industry is essential to the success of every industry and will continue to be a critical part of High Point's economy, development, and workforce. And whereas travel is an economic powerhouse for every state and destination across the country with an economic output of $2.8 trillion with a T, supporting 15 million American jobs. And whereas travel spending supports vibrant and safe communities in High Point and across North Carolina by generating $4.2 billion in federal, state, and local taxes to support essential services such as education, emergency response, public safety, and more. And whereas travel and tourism spending directly benefits the local economy with an economic output of $1.5 billion in visitor spending for Guilford County, which is 19.7 increase from the previous year. And whereas our city leverages High Point's reputation as the home furniture capital of the world and the home of a world-class university to further the evolution of High Point as a unique destination where what we make in High Point changes the world. And whereas small businesses account for more than 60% of leisure, hospitality, and employment, and whereas Visit High Point is in partnership with the city, continues to take courageous steps in creating a year-round destination through collaborative efforts with the long-range strategic plan for tourism that includes a multi-purpose stadium, supporting businesses, new hometown professional teams such as the High Point Rockers and Carolina Core FC, creating an attractive experience for visitors and locals. And now, therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of Mayor Jefferson, Mayor of the City of High Point, we hereby declare and proclaim May 19th through 25th, 2024 as National Travel and Tourism Week and urge the citizens of High Point to join me in recognizing the essential role that this industry plays in our community and throughout the state. Thank you, guys. Sure. Thank you. All right. Last but certainly not least, all right, we'll now have Marketing Director Ryan Ferguson come forward for our next proclamation.
Adjusting the mic. Greetings, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. My name is Keisha Brown, and I'm the president of North Carolina City and County Communicators, also known as NC3C. It is my distinct honor and privilege to stand before you today to recognize and celebrate the outstanding achievement of the High Point Marketing and Communications Department. Last month, NC3C held its annual Communicators Conference, bringing representatives from North Carolina and South Carolina. With more than 170 entries from 24 jurisdictions, High Point was awarded second place in the Branding Award category. This 2024 NC3C Excellence in Communications Award recognizes the creativity, engagement, and impact of the High Point Marketing Division's work with their new city logo. One judge said, "Nice, clean logo with a thoughtful style guide and resources for different audiences to understand the rebrand. Amazing final product and holistic application from the city's comm team." On behalf of the NC3C board, we're proud to honor you with this award today. Congratulations.
So I feel a little close to this one. When we began our branding efforts a few years ago, we really went to the community to make sure that this was a community brand, make sure that the connection that people feel to our new brand really encompassed their voices. And so since then, we've had a great response from our community. We've been globally recognized, and now this is another award for our trophy case based on our brand. But we couldn't have done this without all of you. Like, this is not something that was driven, even the great work that Ryan and our task force members did. This is driven by the community. This was your voices. More than 1,000 surveys, pop-up events where you told us everything, you know, how good we were, how bad we were, what you liked, what you didn't like, and we listened to it all. And it came together in this brand that is now paying off great dividends for the city of High Point. And so this is your award just as much as it is for the city, and I'd like to thank you all for your input in that process. And so you guys, come on, guys. Come on, no, come on, guys, come on. All right, all great awards and recognitions. Thank you all for the hard work. At this time, we will move to our consent agenda. Are there any items in consent that members of council would like to remove? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for passage of our consent agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilwoman Peters, second by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. At this point, we will move to our general business agenda. We have several public hearings that we would like to open up. And at this time, item 2024-155, public hearing date 2023 Edward Byrne Memorial JAG Assistance Grant Funding. And we will hear from, we're just opening the public hearing at this point. At this point, the public hearing is open. If there's anyone here that would like to speak for or against this item at this time, please come forward. All right, hearing none, we will now close the public hearing. And thank you all. Next item. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
All right, I'm sorry, the police department is recommending that the city council conduct a public hearing to receive public comments on the High Point Police Department's use of the funding and authorize the adoption of the authorization, the execution of the interlocal and subrecipient agreements between the City of Greensboro, City of High Point, and Guilford County for the shared use of the 2023 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Funds.
I'd like to move to approve the acceptance of the agreement and authorize the appropriate city officials to execute the necessary documents.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Cook. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second by Councilman Moore? Any discussion on the items? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, item 2024-191, the public hearing for the proposed FY 2024-25 City of High Point annual budget. At this time, we will open the public hearing. We've had several people to sign up. And council understands that there's considerable interest in the council's proposed budget, and we welcome input from members of the public during this public hearing. Tonight, we asked that you please limit your individual comments to no more than 3 minutes. And additionally, if there are several individuals or groups with the same comment, please designate a spokesperson to provide the group's comment. At this time, the first person would also like to recognize Stephen Howrick, our budgeting director, and for any comments or questions. At this time, the first person on our list is Ken Orms. Oh, well, I'm sorry, Ken. We have some slides that we're going to present from staff before we open up comments. My apologies.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Holmes, and good evening to you and members of the City Council. Just a brief overview of the FY 24-25 proposed budget. The budget is balanced in accordance with North Carolina general statutes. The budget was filed with the city clerk on May the 6th, and its public hearing was advertised in the High Point Enterprise. The proposed budget totals $518.7 million, and this pie chart just shows the total budget by fund. On the revenue side, the proposed budget raises the property tax rate 3 cents per 64.75 cents per $100 of valuation. On a home value of $250,000, that would be $75 annual change to their City of High Point property tax bill. The proposed budget has no increase to solid waste or stormwater fees. It proposes a 5% increase in water sewer rates and has proposed fee schedule changes within the electric department, parks and recreation, the theater, parking, and mass transit. Drivers on the expenditure side include an average 3% mid-year merit pay adjustment, market salary adjustments for sworn police and certified fire personnel, the addition of 5 full-time and 6 part-time positions, approximately $4.9 million for new and scheduled replacement of vehicles and other rolling stock, cost of business increases due to inflation and supply chain factors, and capital projects totaling $46,984,916. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Stephen. At this time, we will open the floor for comments, and we have Mr. Ken Orms. Please come forward, state your name and address, please.
Yeah, my name is Ken Orms. I live at 3525 Sainsbury Lane, and I'd like a point of clarity here. At the presentation that was last Wednesday, when you checked with the city attorney, because this is a public comment period and a public hearing, and not a public comment period, that there is no time limit on the amount to receive public during a public hearing, because my comments are based on that understanding that I heard from you personally and from the city attorney.
Upon recommendation, due to the number of signees and folks who are here to speak, about this item, we feel like it's prudent to be able to give
So
everyone
you're
time.
changing the rules at the last possible second without giving any
I'll
public?
I'll recognize Madam Attorney for the explanation, Ken.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. When you asked at the end of the meeting last week, the inquiry was if there would be a time limit, and we said that we would look into that. Historically and in past practice, we have certainly had time limits. If there's a large turnout expected for certain public hearing items, we have done that in the past, and it is an option available to the chair of any meeting in order to maintain order and decorum. It's also permissible under their rules of procedure, and that's what I've advised the Mayor Pro Tem tonight.
Well, that's unfortunate because I was told that there would be no time limit, and there is a difference between public hearing and a public comment period. And there's no way that my comments are going to fit within 3 minutes. If I'm allowed to present 3 minutes and then come back later and spend another 3 minutes, I'd be happy with that. But this is the one and only time that people have an opportunity to make public comments about the budget, and it's an unfair and a last-minute change to say, no, we only want to hear 3 minutes of your thoughts. We don't want to hear anything more than that.
Well, Ken, I think Madam Attorney summarized where we stand on the items. We said that we would look into it. There was no guarantee that we would have an unlimited amount of time to speak on this issue when we have several pages of folks signed up to speak. Folks came out with the ability, wanting the ability to express themselves, and they deserve as much time to do that as you do. So we're asking that you observe the 3-minute rule unless you no longer want to share your comments.
Now, I'll speak for 3 minutes, but
Thank
I've
you.
got 6 minutes worth of comments that I timed, and it's unfortunate.
Please do your best
that-
to summarize, Ken.
Well, last week I sent every member of the city council and the city mayor or city manager 2 suggestions on how you can eliminate the need for a property tax increase, a 4.8% increase in property taxes. One is to cut all expenses by 1.25%, which would save $6.5 million. The budget, I should say, the property tax increase of 3 cents would bring in $5.5 million. So simply trimming the budget by 1.25% would save over $6 million, and there would be no need for a property tax increase. Another option is, instead of putting $14 million in the general fund, put in only $7 million. That's another way to cut the budget by $7 million. So now we're looking at a savings of $13 to $14 million. And again, since the increase is only $5.5 million, you've got enough savings to actually cut the property tax, not increase it. You also want to increase the water revenue, or water rates, by 5%, which puts an undue burden on poor people, people living on fixed income, and the elderly. And you should really, if you need to have the water rate increase, do it 1% a year over a 4, 5, 6 year period, not 5% in one fell swoop here. I was also surprised that the budget director had no, I asked him, what's the average property tax bill for residents in the city of High Point? And he said, I have no idea. I'll have to check with Guilford County. And I was shocked that the budget manager had no idea what the average tax bill was. It's actually $1,035 per taxpayer, or per residential parcel. And I think it's very difficult for the city manager to create a budget and for the council to consider a budget when you don't even know all the facts. It's just astounding. Council and the city manager, the common practice is to say, just give me more money. And when the budget director was asked about reducing the 3 cents to 2 cents or 1 cent, he said, well, we'd have to probably cut some of the money from the police department. And that's just a typical wearing a blinders approach to just scare the hell out of people, saying we're going to have fewer cops and firefighters on the street, when in fact a 1.25% reduction, everybody can still get their raises that they're entitled, that they want, and the budget includes. And saving $7 million on the budget fund saves another $7 million. So the people doing the budgets need to be more creative. Instead of just saying, give me more money. Give me more money year after year after year. That's just not the way you should budget.
Thank
And
you.
again,
Thank you,
I've
Mr. Owens.
voiced my strong disapproval for the limit of time.
Ken, if you have any further comments, you can leave them with the city clerk.
I'm going to send a copy of my comments to every member of the city council and the city manager and the budget director later tonight so that and the city clerk, so that they're part of the official record.
Thank you, Ken. All right, next on our list, we have Vic Jones.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Good to see y'all again. Like Mr. Owens, I don't think I can do 3 minutes justice, but I'll do my best. I believe in the government, we have a sliding scale from the right to the left, and we create governments, and 100% of us want you to do a few things. Police, fire, street lights, sidewalks, okay, we all agree on that. Nobody's arguing over that. But anytime you get away from 100%, you create division. When you start getting into the 30 and 40% of the population when you spend money on things, I really think you're in nonprofit territory. Things where Victor Jones could take my personal checkbook, I can donate to it, I can volunteer, and I do a lot of it, y'all know that. And I see this budget, I think we're getting into dangerous territory here. I was on council when we had the deficit in 2020, and we had to figure out what to cut out of that budget to not raise taxes on the citizens, and we did it. And now we've got the ARPA money, America Rescue Plan Act. We have the money to finally get back to those projects that we were supposed to do. And some of our budget includes those projects, and kudos for us getting back to those projects. But there's a lot of pet projects in here. I'm a limo company, guys. I've got a lot of clients that go to Cherokee, they go to Danville. I talk to them, I've driven them, and they love to gamble. And I'm cool with it. They're smart about it. It might be $1,000 cash they're willing to blow. Some of it's $50,000 cash. They don't care. But they're not taking the kids' college money. They're not taking their retirement. They're not betting the mortgage. They're doing all that so they can keep their family and the bills paid, but still have a little fun. I'm cool if y'all want to have a little fun with 300 Oak. I'm cool if y'all want to do the Shared Juice Kitchen. If you can do all that and not raise my taxes, then go gamble a little bit, and hopefully it works out. Hopefully it's a benefit to our community. Hopefully it creates jobs. Hopefully it creates prosperity. It might not. But if you got to do that and raise my taxes, my problem is you've got a gambling addiction. You're spending money that you shouldn't spend. That money, if it was a check, it would be made out to the citizens of High Point, not to the city council. For y'all to give to your buddy's nonprofit, the people that supported you in the campaign. It's not your money to play with. If it's not doing something good for everyone in this audience and all the 116,000 people in the city, then you're wasting that money. And I feel you have a big conflict of interest, because there's one member of city council that makes a living by raising nonprofits, raising government grants for nonprofits, and getting a commission on it. And if this budget passes with that money going to those things, and I know at least 2 of those nonprofits has a contract with that individual. If you do that, I think you're all accomplices in committing a crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Next up, we have Debbie Darby.
Hello, members of council. My name is Debbie Darby. I live at 1813 Futrell Drive, and I'm afraid mine's going to be a lot less sophisticated than the ones before me. But I am also opposed to the city raising property taxes. I want to thank you to the members that I did reach out by email who responded to me. I didn't reach out to everyone, but Amanda and Patrick, the mayor, Brett, I'm still waiting to hear from you. But anyway, I just read in the paper that $1 billion surplus in state taxes NC has. And the leaders are wondering how to spend it. And my suggestion is, how about some of that tax money that we taxpayers have already paid be funneled into our cities? Surely this could be looked into, help us alleviate the tax burden for our citizens. That's point number one. Point number two, we can all agree that our police force should be supplemented. I also believe in-town suites should be doing this. not the taxpayers. They monopolize our police force with constant criminal activity and are always a no-show at community meetings. To address this, perhaps increased tax bill would get their attention. Alleviate the tax burden on the citizens of High Point. And my third point is, I would ask that you do not proceed with proposed expense of televised city council meetings. Citizens need to interact with each other, not sit in front of a TV screen. It would be better to educate your citizens what local government does and how we can be a part of it. Kind of a mini civic class. Could be done with fast signs, not permanent signs, but the fast signs like banners you can put up. City council meeting, they make a determination what can be in your neighborhood. Come find out. Lots of people do not know that simple fact. They can be affected by what you guys do, and they don't even know how to get involved. So I would suggest that we could educate with flyers and electric bills or a less expensive way to help our citizens become involved than televise. And move the council a little bit later meeting only because some people work in Greensboro and Winston-Salem and they can't get here at 5:30. So,
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Darby. Thank you for your comments. Next on our list, we have Sheila Dorsett.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I don't have a very big speech because I didn't even prepare one, but I just want to say, as a citizen of High Point that has been born here, my grandparents had businesses and retired from those businesses here. My dad owned a business here and was in business for 40-some years here in High Point. And as a senior citizen, I think you need to think about raising taxes on senior citizens. I have friends that are wealthy, and I have friends that are barely making it. And if you raise taxes on these senior citizens, many of them that are just squeaking by will not be squeaking by. And with the economy the way it is right now, I think you need to consider that. The number 2 point is, all the young people that I know are considering how high taxes are in High Point when it comes to buying a home. Well, do we want our city to grow with young people and married couples? And how do cities grow? When they have families move in here and want to come. But who's going to want to come when they already have high taxes, when they can go to the county and have half? They already have that option. But if you keep raising the taxes, most of the people that have children are not going to come here. So you know what that's going to affect? That's going to affect our schools. That's going to affect the number of teachers that we have in our schools. That's going to affect the way we live in High Point. And we want to have a good life for our children. We want to have a good life for our middle-aged individuals. We want to have good workers. We want all these things in High Point, and we've had all these things for many years. But if you keep raising the taxes on the residents here, you will destroy the city that we have enjoyed, and that my grandparents enjoyed, and that my parents enjoyed, and that I have enjoyed. Because most of the people are not going to choose to live here. They're going to move somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dorsett. Next up, we have Kimberly Volkov. Did I say that correctly? Well, I'm sorry.
It's okay. My name is Kimberly Volkman. I live at 503 Steel Street. I understand that this is a complex and dynamic issue that encompasses a lot of details and factors, something that is hard to communicate and decide in an hour's time. Residents in this community have put our trust in electing leaders to represent the best interests of the people and residents in this community. and the city. While taking into consideration the need to grow and prosper as well as the current financial climate, it is important not to put the wants and desires of the city before the needs and best interest of the community it serves. An increase in property tax and water to support a budget in these financial times should be based on necessity. Do we really need to create 5 new positions now? Are municipal raises being given meritoriously? Personally, I am continually disappointed in the lack of proactive work ethic and not my job mentality at the municipal level. I certainly hope we're not rewarding that behavior with raises. You must consider the consequences of your choices, for better or worse. Is it realistic? Is it necessary? Will it better the community as a whole? Who will this hurt? How will this negatively impact residents and local small businesses? These are questions that should be being asked. We, the residents, are all living in times that we have to ask similar questions and make tough decisions daily about our finances. Is the city doing the same? Guilford County's 2022 property reassessment brings the city approximately $12 million annually in additional revenue. Is that being spent wisely? While I'm sure the affluent part of this community wants growth, it cannot come on the backs of the blue-collar community while leaving behind the lower-income community. There is a large portion of this community that will be vulnerable to your decision. A senior on a fixed income could end up in tax foreclosure. A single mother and 2 children could end up on the streets, living in their car, or worse, a homeless encampment. These are the reality for millions of Americans. The working-class homeless has become a new category. People working full-time, barely getting by with the help of food banks and churches, are now finding themselves homeless while employed, something that has already affected our city. The rise in crime and homelessness is a sign of the times at the bottom level. It is what people have resorted to as a way of survival. The hot topic and ongoing issues on the north end of town are a direct result of those current times. Nonprofits and food banks are seeing a 30% increase in requests for services and assistance. With no release in sight for consumers, financial markets can stay irrational much longer than people can stay solvent. It would be ideal to delay the vote, as a lot of residents and small business owners did not have enough notice to be here tonight. I've been told that that is not an option. If that is the case, then this budget should be voted no. We need to come up with better, more affordable alternatives. Even if this is in the best interest of the city, it does not appear to be in the best interest of the residents. I hope you consider what legacy your time served will leave, both individually and collectively, as you make this decision and render your vote. On a personal note, this was a very important meeting for residents to be heard. I find it very disheartening and disrespectful that some members are not present to hear our concerns tonight. Their absence speaks volumes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Volkman. Next up, we have Louis Thibodeau. Louis Thibodeau.
My name is Louis Thibodeau. I reside at 1242 Kensington Drive, High Point. Good evening, Mayor, City Council staff, and fellow citizens. We meet to give input to our city budget so citizens who pay taxes, you, our representatives, must decide how to spend our taxes. For our city, for all of our citizens. In reading the Weekend Enterprise, there was a letter of how money could be saved and little or no effect on city services. Let's not forget, just recently, when property values were assessed with a millage reduction, the city still got, I believe it was $12 million windfall, which will help the city coffers for years to come. I see new hires at the police department will get a raise, and I hope that that will be across the board, even those that have been on the police force for a number of years. I heard it might be that might be the way it works. That's fine. Okay? How about raising the pay of new city council by 10%? How would that go? I don't think it'd go too well. You see, if we look at it, if we're involved, it looks different when it affects us. So why not look at our city budget as spending what we have and not borrowing what we don't have to be like a city we are not. We are not Greensboro. We are not Winston. We are High Point. Let's remember our citizens are going through tough times, raising families, and then there's retirees. living on fixed income? Why not think about freezing property values for seniors or doing something to help them? How much could we do with $250,000? If someone has an idea, let's raise the funds. As I've given it thought to having to redo our library after just a few years, in closing, I ask you consider the budget to make it a city for all. Thank you, and thank you for all those that have spoken thus far. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thibodeau. Next up, we have Viola Long.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good evening, Ms. Long.
This may be a little shift in difference in what you're expecting me to say. I just feel like when it comes to raising the taxes, my concern and my compassion is for the senior citizens, and it's for everybody in this city. I was born and raised in this city, and I have seen how a lot of things that I was not pleased with, and a lot of things that you all have done. But at the same time, I think right now what we need to do, we need to give ourselves a hard examination. Because whenever you are making decisions for our community and you're not actually getting their input of how this money is going to be spent, it's just not fair. And I believe that, and I'm not saying that some of you do not have the heart in doing what is right for the city, but we all know that the furniture market, it brings in millions of dollars. And my concern is, I don't have a degree or anything, but show us what you're doing with the money that is coming into this city. Because as long as I've been here, the only productive things that I've seen in High Point since Nito Cobain at High Point University started getting involved in the community and doing things to help the citizens of this city. And so I feel like we all need a heart check, and we should not base things upon well, I got my job, I'm making my salary, and not think about the people that are not. I think compassion is missing. I think everybody is trying to go for themselves. And I'm going to tell you the truth. If you don't have God or Jesus in your heart, you're not going to do the right thing anyway. You're just not going to do it. You're going to do what the law say do, and there's nothing wrong with the law. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with the law. But at the same time, I would like each and every one of you after this meeting to go home and really do some deep consideration and check your heart. I really do. Because I know that justice will be served. It's going to be served by Almighty God. And we will be held accountable for the things that we do. So as far as, raising the taxes, property taxes, and doing things that we shouldn't be doing, check your heart, because I'm a firm believer that when you don't do the right things according to the people, there are repercussions behind each and everything that you say, each and everything that you do. This is just a warning.
Well, we thank you for your comments.
This is just a warning. Oh, you're welcome. You kindly welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next up, we have Jim Adams.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jim Adams. I live at 1617 Heathcliff Road. I really enjoyed these comments tonight, and I can tell you that I spent about 45 years in the furniture industry. You need money, that's where you go. You don't go here. Those guys won't matter. They won't bother you. They won't say anything to you. Just go ahead and get it. That's what you really need. But I'm going to tell you, after spending 45 years in the industry, it goes up and it goes down. It goes up and it goes down. When it went down, I had to adjust my budget. I had to cut people. I had to cut salaries. I had to cut jobs. And when things came back, I added people. I added meritorious raise increases, and I added jobs. But I didn't do it when the economy was going the way it's going now. So you need to be careful with that.
Thank you, Mr. Adams, for your comments. Next up, we have Bill Hurd. All right. Our last speaker, Elizabeth Johnson. Okay, social district. Okay. All right. So at this time, if there is anyone here who has not signed up to speak on this public hearing, please come forward now.
My name is Greg Painter. I live at 173B Old Mill Road. I didn't write down a lot of comments, and I really hadn't planned on addressing you. However, after observing what some of the people said and hearing some of the comments, I tend to agree with everything I've heard. I did email several of you, and I had two responses, one from Mr. Andrews and one from the mayor himself. At some point, the spending has got to stop. You're politicians. Hopefully, a part of your job should be business people, but you're not. As the gentleman said, when times are tough in business, you make cuts. You don't continue to spend. 5% water increase. You know how much my Social Security increase was this year? 3%. And then most of it went away with Medicare tax. Where's the reality here? I am all in favor of the police department and the fire department and some of these departments getting increases. We have some great city employees that do a fine job. But I think you need to get a budget manager to sharpen his pencil and say, let's live within our means. This is bad times for everybody. Young people are suffering. I walked in the grocery store last night and I wanted to pick up something that I picked up a couple weeks ago. And I looked at it and it wasn't necessary, I wanted it. But it was 50 cents more than I paid 2 weeks ago. So it went back on the shelf because I don't have 50 cents more to spend on that item. You don't have 50 cents more. Resharpen your pencils and do what's morally right for the people of this city. And that does not include donations to city council members that have special interest and are asking for money for special interest groups that they profit from. That is as immoral as it comes. There's a reason people dislike politicians, and it starts at this level to the very Pennsylvania Avenue. We all know it. And there's a reason, and this is one of the reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other members of the public would like to speak on this issue? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Aiden Keys. I live at 3215 Rockingham Road. I'm fresh out of college. My girlfriend and I, we own our own place, and we're barely scraping by. Like, just for point of perspective here, groceries are more expensive than, when I finished college in the summer of last year. And to be quite honest with you guys, we can't take a tax increase and a water increase. We're going to have to look to go somewhere else if this goes through. So then I know there are other young people like me that are in the same position. You got people graduating from HPU and they stay in this area because they might have, have rented a place to stay near close to campus. And they might not be able to afford to live here because the tax increases.
Well, thank you for your comments. Any other members of the public like to speak? If not, we will close this public hearing, and then we will like everyone to know that there are several more budget sessions to going on regarding the budget before potential adoption of this budget on June 3rd. All right. At this time, we will move forward with our general business agenda. Item 2024-184, consideration of contract with Utility Services Company, Inc., Robbie Stone, Public Service Director.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council Manager, thank you. This is for a contract for Utility Services Company for rehabilitation of the I-74 elevated water tank. This tank is located adjacent to I-74 at the Ward Water Treatment Plant. These tanks was inspected back in January of 2023, and we inspect these about every 5 years. This inspection revealed that it was recommended to paint and do a paint and overcoating of this tank. This will consist of the overcoating and any surface preparation needed as well. These we have to repaint these tanks roughly about every 15 years or so. Part of this painting will include the repainting of the tank along with the updated logo there. There were 7 contractors who submitted bids on this for this project. We do have funds in the current budget for this work, and Public Services recommending approval of this contract to Utility Services Company, Inc. in the amount of $313,200.
Thank you, Robbie. Any questions from members of council on this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion. I'll entertain a motion for passage of this item.
So moved.
Well, there's a motion by Councilwoman Peters. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Robbie. We also have another, Robbie, you're going to stay with us for a little, for this one, 2024-189, consideration of contract with Utility Services Company, Inc. Please, Robbie.
Yes, sir. So this is also for another tank painting. This is for our 10 million gallon finished water tank at the Ward Water Treatment Plant. This is a concrete tank. This was also inspected in January of 2023 and recommended for painting and overcoating. The scope here will consist of the overcoating along with the surface preparation to the exterior portion of the tank. There were 5 contractors that bid on this project. Funds are available in our current budget for this, and Public Services recommending the approval of this contract to Utility Services, Inc. in the amount of $222,808.
Thank you. Any questions from members of council? If not, I'll entertain a motion for passage.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Harmon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Peters. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. All right, next up, item 2024-197, consideration of an ordinance amending section 1111-1, social districts of the High Point Code of Ordinances. Deputy City Manager Greg Ferguson will present.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. Tonight you have in front of you a amendment to the existing ordinance creating a social district in High Point. The city currently has one social district, which is called the Catalyst Social District. The ordinance as proposed would create a second social district named the Uptown Social District, and you'll see a map. There's the Catalyst District, which you're probably familiar with. And then moving down to Exhibit B, you have the Uptown Social District, which is depicted in red. The ordinance as proposed to be amended would make it effective June 1st, 2024. And if there are questions, we'll be happy to address those.
Yes, I have a question. This is Councilwoman Cook. I had a question about the line drawing covering the street south of Hillcrest Place. I'm wondering why the line goes across the street when it doesn't include any businesses. Do you see what I'm talking about?
So south of Hillcrest,
So it goes across, it would be on the sidewalk, I presume, but there wouldn't be any residences or that would be included or businesses included. So it seems like you could, if you lived across the street, that you could walk across the street in a social way and then you would be out of the district.
let me try to answer that question. I'm not sure I fully understand. So the red line basically shows the back of the sidewalk. So you could enter the business from the sidewalk, but those properties that are on the south end there of the North Main area, there's really not outdoor, I'm gonna call it activity areas. Whereas if you look at the area maybe around Brown Truck, you've got parking lots and other businesses that you could potentially move from one business to another. And so there's more private property associated with some of those businesses. So my understanding was the intent was to include the parking areas for those businesses because there could be activity in and around the parking lot.
I guess I'm having a hard time seeing that because to me it looks like it would only include the sidewalk. So it looks like if you were at Brown Truck per se and walked across the street with, I assume, this is including an open container policy, correct?
In a cup that's labeled as
Right,
such.
so if you had an open container and you walked across the street, you would be in compliance on the street and on the sidewalk, but then out of compliance once you crossed over the sidewalk, correct?
You can enter a business that participates. So if a business decides that they want to be part of the district, they would have some indication on their business, and so they would grant you permission to enter into their property.
I think her question is if you live in those apartments and you've got a beer at Brown Truck and you walk across, are you balloting an open container once you get off the sidewalk and want to enter your apartment? I think that's
Or
what
in the
Councilmember
parking
Cook is
lot. If you
asking.
were to go across and get a drink at Brown Truck and then come hang out in your own apartment complex parking lot, which is outside of the region, or if you're just walking across the street, period, I'm just wondering why we wouldn't cut it up north and just include the sidewalks on the side where the businesses are.
Once you enter that apartment complex, you're on private property, so the open container wouldn't apply. It'd be the rules and regulations of the private property. My understanding was the instruction to staff when this was originally proposed was to not go more than, the front door of those businesses on West North Main. Certainly, we could take a look at another boundary if that's the will of council. I think one of the things that was driving this was an opportunity to try to get it in place for the summer, and particularly for June 1st. But we'll be happy to look at another boundary if we need to.
I guess I just have safety concerns because I hear nonstop that people don't feel that that portion of the road is a safe place to be walking. So I just don't want it to seem like we're encouraging people to walk across there potentially with open container if that side is not fully a part of the social district. It just seems like a lot of intersections and places that it's not necessary to me, but I mean, maybe I'm the only one. When I look at this map, it doesn't quite make sense to me why that line is not on the other side of the street, just for that part from Hillcrest Place down to, I don't know what road that is, to between Ferris and Design.
And one point of clarification, Councilmember Cook, is that wherever the boundary is determined to be, that you simply dispose of your cup. So everyone is just going to have a cup from the ABC permitted establishment they were in with the sticker on it. And so when they leave the boundaries, they have to dispose of the cup. So they're not necessarily like bringing open containers from outside. That's not permitted. This is just if someone were to leave an establishment, get the cup, then wherever the boundary is determined to be, then they throw that away, if that helps at all.
If I could please make a comment.
Of course.
So I know it's been the will of council ever since we adopted social districts to have the uptown area as one. When we did this, we had some concerns about the crosswalk in front of Brown Truck, and staff made some upgrades, and I contacted and with Greg and with the Transportation Department that those upgrades that they had done were sufficient. And I think, I understand what you're saying about residential, but the whole purpose of this social district is to promote business. So I know that there's some folks here that are from the Catalyst Social District, and it's been hugely successful. And then we had gotten some comments from some of the uptown businesses that it's affecting their business negatively. And I know that there's going to be some more investments in the uptown, and I think that this is something that's really going to help the businesses, not only the restaurants and bars, but the retailers, like, just Priceless or any of those retailers that are up there on like a social Saturday when you get off the trolley. It's been a little bit confusing, but now you can, have a drink and maybe go support some of these retailers. So it's really about positive business in the social.
And I don't disagree with that. I just think from a safety standpoint, my question would be about just why the boundary would not just be on, from where I'm looking, the right-hand side of the street, like on the Brown Truck side of the street, for that portion of it. If you could still cross at that crosswalk, I don't know what difference that would make, but it could potentially make a safety difference in my opinion.
Deputy Manager Ferguson, is it possible for us to have a working evaluation of this new district? Put the district in place, establish it tonight, and then evaluate it over the course of the summer for any concerns that may arise that we may have, members of council may have here tonight. Is that possible?
We could absolutely do that directly by council. The original Catalyst District was instituted, if you'll recall, and then the state made some changes to the state law. The council directed staff to redraw that district. So the process would be the same to amend the ordinance and to adopt a new map. So if we're given direction to do that, we'll take whatever direction you give us.
Well, I think it would be prudent to many of the comments made by Councilwoman Peters to support local businesses and their desire to improve foot traffic to their businesses, but also to evaluate it honestly for any potential concerns, safety or otherwise. I think that would give us I think it would kind of split the baby and give us a good working option here. And so if members of council, any other comments or concerns before we move forward?
I think that safety's always going to be a concern, and it should be, and we're certainly going to hear about that. This is the roadmap for now, but it can be brought back and amended at any point, as many things have been. So I'm in favor of adoption of this item.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilwoman Peters. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'm going to say no to this map here, but I appreciate everyone's comments.
All right, that motion passes by a two-thirds vote, so that motion is carried. That was the final item on our agenda for tonight. I'd like to thank all of those members of the public who came out to voice your opinion. And if there's nothing else to come before.
I've got a couple of comments I'd like to make. First off, I want to thank all the members and citizens that came out to speak tonight. Budget time
I've been through a few of them, and it's never an easy time. And we hear some of the same refrain every year. I can assure you, having been here for a minute, that we have an incredible staff. They look at things very much as a business. They also, each budget is set at a point in time for 1 year. And it is just that. It is a budget. And there will be amendments and there will be adjustments. When you are operating a business in an environment where inflation, true inflation, not what you're told out of Washington or in the paper, sometimes from national media outlets, is running around 19 to 26, 30%, depending on the categories. And if they don't like that, they'll change the formula so it can fit their narrative. But we will continue to massage this with consideration for all and try to come up with the best that we can. I do want to publicly thank staff, working with them daily. They make some really tough decisions. But just as you and I are having to make tough decisions in our personal lives and in our business lives, that same percentage increase goes into everything that this city does to provide the services to make life as convenient for us as we can. So I want to thank y'all for that. I want to thank you for your comments. But as a point of reference, as you leave, in 2010, first year I came on council, the city of High Point's rate was 63.3. It jumped over the ensuing years after coming out of, and of course we've got COVID, we've got the ramifications of ARPA, we all got it. But the city's deal is not, when you look at the city, you're looking at human beings. You're not just looking at this abstract entity. And so they have families and things they have as well. I know I'm preaching to the choir probably, but it has to be taken in totality, and there's thousands of lines in this budget. And some of them, and everyone's different, but as we go through the 12 months, some things that are in this budget I didn't vote for. Some other things I did and they didn't. So it's a whole mosaic of things there, and you got to take the totality of this budget where there's things in it every year that you like and you don't like, and try to create the best scenario, because the budget you're just leaving affected the budget that's going before you, and that one's going to affect the next one after that. So the rate was 63.3 in 2010. We dropped the rate in 2023 by 3 cents. Now, to the best of my memory, I don't remember anybody coming and thanking council for that drop. And I don't say that, I appreciate the laughter, but it's it's the worst time to be on council when you come into a budget. And I would say it would be for staff too. But regardless of what we may interpret or suspect somebody else's political leanings be, I can tell you that this staff works very hard to be efficient in every department. And we will continue to do that. But to go, from a 63 cent in 2010 to currently 61.75, with all that's gone on in between, from the macro economy that directly affects how we operate in our micro here, I think that's a pretty outstanding job. In 2024, we're 61.75. Greensboro is 67.25. Guilford County, 73.05. So I just want to commend our staff and all those that work on it hard. Every increase hurts. It hurts me. I got the same bad valuations that some of y'all got. But we don't set that. We don't set what's going on to make 19.5% inflation run either. But we, just like y'all, have to deal with it, and we want to try to deal with it together. And I fully expect, if there is a tax increase, that the mentality of this staff will be, okay, if the economics work out the next time, can we deliver the tax cut again? So take that into consideration. We'll continue to massage it, but we also have a deadline, unlike the federal government, to where, you know, we're going to be fined if we don't present our budget balanced and on time. So we've got a lot of work to do in between now and then to see if we can find out that resolution to a compromise and still maintain the amount of services that our citizens have come to expect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Moore. Any other members of council have comments or things that they would like to announce?
I just want to make one quick comment.
Councilwoman
If you were
Peters.
here for the a business owner or advocate for the business owner in the social district, will you please stand up?
Social district.
Social district,
Yeah.
if you were here for the social
Please stand
district.
up. I just want to thank you guys so much for your investment in our city and making it such a fun and thriving place where families can come with their children and their dogs, and thank you so much. I'm so happy to support you guys.
And for those of you who signed up, we apologize. It was not a public hearing, so even though you signed up on the list to speak, we couldn't accept your comments, but your presence is well felt. Councilwoman Cook, I know you.
I just wanted to make a point of clarification that I'm not against the Uptown Social District, and I do support the businesses. I live nearby that area, and I look forward to seeing more foot traffic. I know it's something that is part of an overall plan to activate Main Street and make that area be more social. So that was not at all my intent in those comments, and I do support that area. It was simply about the map and safety.
Thank you for your comments. And finally, I just wanted to echo the sentiment of Councilman, I'm sorry.
I had a comment.
Please, Councilman Andrew.
As this is the last council meeting we'll have before Memorial Day, I'd like to take a moment to remember what Memorial Day is about. One of my responsibilities when I was on active duty was being a casualty notification officer, where I'd knock on the door of families who've lost Marines in the local area. And I've done that 9 times, 5 combat actions within Iraq. So before we take our time for Memorial Day, let's remember those who've lost and the freedoms that we have based on those who've sacrificed. Specifically within Guilford County, Lance Corporal Andrew Rosoli, 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marine Regiment, killed in action October 2005. Lance Corporal Daniel Swaim, 3rd Battalion, 6th Marine Regiment, killed in action November 2005. Corporal Philippe Barbosa, 2nd Battalion, 6th Marine Regiment, killed in action December 2005. Lance Corporal Kevin A. Lucas, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marine Regiment, killed in action May 2006. And Master Sergeant Bryant McAnulty, 3rd Battalion, 4th Marine Regiment, killed in action December 2016. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Andrew. As we remember those who sacrificed all for our freedoms, as we go forward on this Memorial Day, make sure that if you see a veteran or someone who has served in our military, that you thank them for their service and their sacrifice, and also the sacrifices of their families who have shared their service with us. And so, finally, I just want to say I echo. If there are no other comments from council, I echo Councilman Moore's sentiments. Budgets are never easy, but please do understand that government is about people. Everything that we do here is about how we bring the best quality of service to all of you and how we create the best quality of life for everyone in this city. And we understand the sentiments that you all echoed. We feel them, we live them. If a tax increase is imposed, it's not like we're immune. We live in this city just like you do. Our taxes will go up just like yours. And so we all want to make sure that we understand that the collective benefit of High Point, we all share it in the collective investment on the future of High Point. We all share it. And so as we sit here with the authority that you have granted us to make these decisions, we don't take it lightly. And so one of the things that we do appreciate is the fact that you all care enough to come here and share your voices. And sometimes it's tough to hear, but we accept that graciously, and we will do everything that we can to make the best decision on your behalf. So those are my comments. If there's nothing else to come before council, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
There's a motion by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilwoman Peters. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify